evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Wave Network and the Sports Corner with the Conn Man. I am your host, the Conn Man. And of course, this evening with me, I have a very special guest. He goes by the name of Daniel Buddy Monterio. He'll be coming on very shortly. But prior to him coming on, I just want to let you folks know that the Sports Corner with the Conn Man gear is in full effect. I'll be putting that on tomorrow night as I discuss the Black History Month and the history of the NBA. So please tune in tomorrow night live at 5 on the Sportsway Network. My special guest this evening is Daniel Monteiro. He's from the South Coast. He's one of the very best vocalists to come from the South Coast area. And thanks to Key Williams and Jake Silva and the network, they allow me to do some other things just besides sports. And, I love music and entertainment as well. And of course, I am the basketball fanatic, whatever you want to call it. But sometimes, there are more important things in life than just basketball or sports. So while we're waiting for him to come on, hopefully he comes on. But, sometimes there are technical difficulties, but he'll be on. And I just want to let you all know that I was highly, highly upset with the NBA All-Star game, and I posted it. And I was going to talk about it a little bit more tomorrow, but hopefully that can wait for until tomorrow. But just the fact that some of these ball players are making, like I said, $40 million a year, and they go out there and give a lackadaisical effort when people are busting their behind, paying exorbitant amount of money for tickets and things of that nature, bringing their kids and their children to have a great night and to see the players play. You know what I mean? And I came up with a couple of ideas I'm sure people might not be too happy with. I say get rid of the All-Star game. I say get rid of it. Why even have it? You can have them, those who made the team, they can show up, they can, sign autographs, and, they can still get their endorsements, they can still make their money. And since they're so worried about getting injured and hurt, to me, it's a total disgrace. And then you get the legends. You got Dr. J there. You got the great man himself, Oscar Robertson there. You got Larry Bird there. You got all these great players. And then prior to that, they had the luncheon, the NBA luncheon. They had 170 greats, all-time greats in the house. How do you think they felt? And if you go back to, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 years ago, maybe even a little bit sooner than that, they went and they played hard because it was a reputation. I think a lot of it had to do when they did the captains picking teams East West. To me, that was total mess up. It should be the way it was this year as far as the East versus the West, because that's how it is in the NBA, and that's how it should be in the All-Star game as well. And unfortunately, that was not much of a game. And a couple of players were like, "Well, there's not really much we can do about it." Oh, yes, there is. When you hit them in the pocket, they will. Or if, like I said, don't play the game. You can have Friday night. You could have the celebrity game. Saturday night, you could have, the G League versus the rookies. And then Sunday, you can have the skills contest. The whole all day full of skills. And you could come up with some other things that would make it more, I think, more enjoyable for the fans. And then you could have these all-stars, go there and sign autographs, do what they normally do, which is basically nothing in the All-Star weekend anyway, still get their just due. While we're waiting on Daniel Monteiro to come on, I'll talk a little. I think he's in the building right now. I'll discuss how it came across having myself want to have Mr. Monteiro on my show. It goes back. I'm kind of old as dirt, as you all know. And again, I'm a fan of music. And, back in the day, I used to socialize, clubs and different establishments and hearing bands play and musicians play. And, I've always been interested in that. We come from a great abundance of musical vocalists and talents out here in the South Coast area. And because I've been given the platform to be able to do that, I just want to showcase the talent that we have, as well as, of course, we got to do the basketball thing. You know how I roll. But, I first met him from afar because I was still young. I was in my college age. A little after college, and I would go and frequent some of these clubs where these bands would be playing, and some of these bands were phenomenal. And that's where I first, got to be able to see him perform. And what Daniel does right now, if you guys have the opportunity, you guys can look him up on Facebook. He does something every now and then. He'll go into his, I guess, into his studio, and he does some songs, man. Like it's unbelievable. And tonight he's supposed to be coming on, and he's going to bless us with a few songs if he comes on. You know, again, when sometimes things happen. So we'll go on. I think he'll be here. Um, Getting back to you know, the network. Okay, since we're on the network, you know, I've been on this network for a little while. I had the opportunity to meet Key Williams, of course, and she kind of is the one that does the show. Without her, I would not be able to do this. And then, of course, she came up and introduced me to Mr. Cool McCain. And there's a reason why they call him Cool McCain, because he's cool. And we do a great NBA show. You guys got to tune into that tomorrow night as well. The courtside view, where we view things from courtside. We do the NBA thing, and we have a ball, and that comes on 9 o'clock live. And sometimes the boss Key pops in, Coach Dante, and we have a great time. And I think right now we're just trying to get him to come on. So I'm going to ramble on a little bit. But getting back to Daniel Monterio again. So I was observing him, from afar again, and I'm about 2 or 3 summers ago. I can't remember because I do have a case of dementia sometimes. But here he is, man. Back here he is in the building. I told y'all, folks. This is one of my good friends, Daniel Monterio. Daniel, how you doing, my brother? He's got to get his vocals together, but we're gonna be good. I think we're gonna get it. We're gonna get that, I hope. While he's working on that, we again, I was observing him from afar years ago, and as I traveled throughout the South Coast area, I would go and I was a little younger then, and I would go and check out bands and etc. And that's where he's trying to get his vocals together so he can hear me. We'll get it together, I hope. I know. We're working on it. We're gonna work on it. We're gonna be all right. So again, when I saw him perform, and about, I don't know, I've been doing giving out my recognition awards for like, damn, almost 30 years. And what I like to do is give people their roses. And a couple of summers ago, I had a little thing I was doing at Monty Park, which I was doing for years and years and years. And my thing was giving people their recognition in front of their own people. And a lot of us are from Cape Verdean descent, you know what I mean? So I wanted to give the folks their just due in front of their own people. And of course, we did that for quite a few years. And about 2 or 3 years ago, matter of fact, it was the last year I did it at Monty Park. I invited Daniel Montero and Candida Rose and Daniel Andrews and Victor Tavares and Kevin. And it was one of the greatest. I mean, unfortunately, the weather was not that good, but Daniel Montero, they all turned it out. And it was unfortunate that the weather was kind of bad. And, it was a great time. Then I've been following him, and, he has a very unique, fantastic voice. And I asked him to come on the show. So we've been working on it. And hopefully he can get this vocal thing together. I hope he can. I hope he can hear me. But hopefully we can get this going. He's been preparing. He's right in the studio right now, and hopefully we can do something. On my end, I can't do it. He can't hear me. He can't hear me. Oh wow, something wrong. He can't really hear me. I don't know what's going on with his vocals. Maybe he can adjust that. Maybe my producer Key Williams can do something. I don't know, because you guys are being for a treat. Him coming on, so right now he's trying to do something. I think he's trying to contact me, but this is what happens when you do podcasts, and this is part of the processes it takes. Sometimes things don't work out, but
Con, he might have to come. He might have to go out all the way out and come back in.
The only thing is, how do I contact him to do that? Uh,
Hold on.
uh, he's good too. That's the only problem. I can go back off and come back on. I don't know how you want to do this, but
No, not you. You're fine. He might have to go all the way out and come back in.
I don't know if he knows how to do that, or if he knows to do it. If he doesn't know, but I'll keep talking. Maybe he'll get it. Maybe he'll get it. He's probably trying to reach me now. But getting back to until we get him back on, because I know he put a lot of time and effort working on his songs, and he's in the studio right now, and hopefully we can work this out. Uh, I was looking forward to this. As I said, he is a good. Again, the shows I do also is to try to make an impact, and he's one of them individuals that has made an impact, and he's just a great person, great dude, great vocalist, and hopefully we can work things out. If not, we can always reschedule. But I just wanted to have him come on and show you guys what I'm talking about and why I kind of like to have a little different things, because sometimes we get so uh, into the sports world too deep, too deep. It's crazy. But while we get them on, there's some things I like to talk about. Now, even though this, I get a basketball show, but there's still certain things. This is a sports network. A couple of people I'm not very happy with is Micah Parsons, for example. This guy he's 24 years old, all pro, and he's making all these podcasts and making all these statements. And I shouldn't say he has I don't think he's earned enough stripes to be able to go on there and speak what he does. Personally, if it was me, I would not allow him to have the podcast during the season uh, because it's too much of a distraction to the team. But then again, you get the owner, Jerry Jones, who does the same damn thing. So how you going to get mad at Micah? But that was one of the issues I've had. And then also the little thing that's going on with the egos, and it's going to this NFL season is going to be very interesting as to what happens, what does Chicago do, what they do with Fields. I know a little bit about football. I know a little bit about football, believe it or not. So I've been watching. I've been checking things out, and the football season is going to be crazy. I don't know what they're going to do. You got right now. It's you got a lot of running backs available. What are they going to do? Are you going to franchise them? Where are these running backs going to go? And I think that's going to be a major problem, because if you can get a linebacker or a running back in the fourth or fifth round and pay dirt money, then I think it's going to be more beneficial to you, because you can get some of these guys who are making 12, 14, 15 million a year. If you can pay somebody at a rookie scale, and then you also benefit yourself. Then if you get a quarterback who's on a rookie scale, now you can fulfill and get your offensive line, you can get your defensive line, you can get everything in order, and then build your team from there. Because you know how you always build your either you build your team either through the draft or free agency, or some type of trade or something that's going to give you value. And I know my man Dan Monterio is working hard to get on, and you guys, I hope he can. He said he really can't hear me, and we're going to have to reschedule. He said we'll have to reschedule. He's like, we have to reschedule. It's no problem. So I know, I know, I know, I know. I'm trying to confer with him right now. Hopefully we can get him back on. We can do this. We can do it again. So again, I apologize.
Hold on, Con. I'm gonna try to email him, and just let him know so to go out and come back in.
Okay, thanks,
All
boss.
right, just keep talking.
The best boss in the building, but she's going to try and make it happen. So she probably don't want to hear me talk. That's probably another reason. But anyway, yeah, tomorrow, I was talking about the NFL. Yeah, it's going to be interesting how they do with the NFL. You know what I mean? With the quarterback situation, Russell Wilson, of course, he's getting a lot of heat, but he's going to make 39 million to sit at home. Now, would it be worthwhile to have him, because he's only on a $1 million contract for 1 year? So what do you do in that situation? So that's going to be looking forward to that as well. And of course, we got the NBA, which I want to save a little bit for tomorrow night. Although it starts tonight, we have all kind of games tonight. Although my guy LeBron will not be playing tonight because he's resting his ankle, and I think my boss is communicating via email to go back off and come back on. So I think maybe we're going to be able to have a chance to get to talk to him as well, because he's definitely giving his best effort. So he knows he's going to try to go off.
Yeah,
He,
I just emailed them to tell them to log all the way off and come back in.
okay, I said he's going to try to do that. All right. So while he's doing that, again, we were talking about the NBA. Again, I don't want to talk too much about the NBA because we're going to do that on our show tomorrow night, which is the courtside view. But I'll give you guys a little bit of taste of the um, the actual what I'm going to be doing tomorrow afternoon, which is going to be a tribute to Black History Month. And what I really enjoy doing is talking about the history of the NBA. And there's a lot of things you guys will be very surprised. I'm not going to give you guys too much of a detail. I hope you all tune in because then you might get an understanding why I am the way I am as far as my history of the sports. Um, I will not call myself a historian anymore because when I had the opportunity to sit down with the great Sam Jones, 10-time NBA champion. And we sat down. And as I told people, I was given the opportunity to speak with him. And they had told me, Mike, we'll give you 10 minutes with him. I said, I'll take 5 seconds with him. And that show ended up being almost an hour and 45 minutes. And the things that we discussed about the Celtics, the great Red Auerbach, Bill Russell, on and on, Jerry West, Oscar Robinson, on and on and on. And we talked about that. And here's something that I think I brought up before. I don't want to bore people, but this was really cool with me. Is right, maybe like the last half hour of the show. He said, Mike, where you from? And I told him, I'm from New Bedford, Mass. He said, oh, really? And then we started talking, and he was talking about all the people he knew from my area. And we started Manuel Costa Sr. We started talking about all kind of stuff. And then the very next morning, after we did the interview, the very next morning, I get up, I go do my errands. I come back, the phone rings. I get on the phone. He said, Mike, how you doing? I said, well, who's this? He said, this is Sam Jones. And I almost had a heart attack because I remember the date. It was June 10th was the interview, and June 11th, which was my birthday, he called to wish me a happy birthday. And unfortunately, he passed away 3 months later, which was really sad. But we spoke about how could I put the inequalities that the Celtics suffered. I'm gonna bring that up a little bit tomorrow, but I'll give you a little insight. The great things that Bill Russell didn't mean a damn thing back in the day. You could win the championship and come home and your house be on fire. Crosses on your lawn. I can go on and on, but I'll talk about that tomorrow. But I mean, greatly, the NBA is such a great league the way the players are playing now. So I don't begrudge them making all the money that they make. But you guys got to hear some of the stories I got to tell you. You know what I mean? Hey, there will be no Google, by the way. It's all here. No Google. No Google. I'm going to tell you when the NBA started, origination, the first black player. I'm going to run it down to you. We'll put that on tomorrow. You check it out. Plus, I'm going to have the new gear, too, by the way. The Sports Corner with the Conn Man gear from the Sports Wave Network. Oh, it came out. The gear is fresh. You guys got to check it out. Check it out tomorrow. So while we're waiting on Mr. Monterio to come on, one thing I would tell you about Mr. Monterio, he takes his craft very serious. He's no joke. He takes his craft very serious. And he's in the studio right as we speak. He again takes it very serious. He does a lot of the Luther Vandross and etc. He's waving. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me, Mike?
Oh, we got him. We finally got him, yo. We finally got him.
Okay. Thank God.
Again, my good friend Daniel Monterio. Daniel, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good, Michael, my good friend. Welcome to my place, and I'm glad to be at your place.
Well, I'm glad you took the time. I mean, we had some technical difficulties, but that's what happens when we kind of do these shows. So
it happens. We've been having it all day here at the house. We had a problem with the internet here at the house with cable and something the squirrels did outside with the wires. So it's been one of those days. It's okay. I'm patient.
And I'm blessed and honored. And I was talking while we were trying to get you back on about how I first started noticing you, and back in the day all the bands that speak and see all the great bands and the great vocalists around the area. And what I wanted to do began because Dan, I don't know if you're familiar, but you already know. I like giving out recognition awards, and I wanted to give you your roses tonight. So I want
Oh,
the folks, oh, well deserved. I want the folks to get an idea about you because this is not local. This is all over. So I want people to understand and get an idea of, your grind and how you started and the things you're doing now.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Because me, I can talk all night. So it's not about me. This is about you, my
I
brother.
can too. Yeah, I can.
If you give the folks background, that'd be great.
Well, I can tell you how I pretty much started, Mike. I started about 6 years old. Actually, my first performance was at 6. I sort of knew I could sing. I think even at 4 years old, I think I was singing on key. My dad used to be a trumpet player, so he had good ears. My aunts all sang and stuff. So, and my mother, used to sing on the radio up in Lowell. She played guitar, banjo actually, and sang. On live radio way back in the days, probably back in the 40s. But with me, I started off at 6, right in first grade. I was selected. I used to sing over the school PA system every day at before school would start. Mr. Peeling, the principal, would bring me into his office and put me on the PA system, and I would sing a song that he selected, and it would go throughout the school. I did that all through my 4 years in elementary school for 4 years straight. Then they used to bring me to parent meetings, PA meetings, PTA meetings as a 6-year-old. And I used to have to sing at the PTA meeting as a special vocalist. And so it started there, and it started very actively in church. Back in those days, we went to church 3 days a week. We had a very active choir under a very popular music director, Judge Bento, James Bento, who was the first Cape Verdean judge, and he was a mentor at our church, and he was our choir director and music director. And Judge Bento played violin, so he encouraged a lot of us to take up instruments because I'm also a trumpet player, and so it's and I played trumpet for a living for quite a few years, but it sort of got me out into the business. But myself, people who have made it famous, like Leroy Gomez, Sanchez Meralda, 52 million records. He started off in that church. McKellen Roderick, by all means, she started off in that church. So it was a church mainly of Cape Verdeans in Onset. Now it's called the St. Mark's Methodist Church, but back in the day, it had a different name. But it was primarily just Onset Village residents that went there. And I grew up in that community, and I'm representing in Onset, where back in those days, there wasn't a lot of radio. We had WILD, as I'm sure you're familiar with. Was an AM station, so you didn't really get the signal that much. You had to play around with your radio or go up on the roof or something. But so our ears, I think back in those days, I think singers who started developing back in those days, I think ear development, because a lot of us couldn't afford record players. We didn't have record players, so we had to hear a song once. And I remember I would have to listen to WILD all day to get the lyrics off of one song. And then I'd have to quickly memorize it because I didn't have a recorder or anything to record the song. So you have to get good memory, and you start developing your ears to really listen, because you had to listen quick. And you had to listen through distortion. The radio was an AM radio. But it started back then for me. I started performing live for money about 12 years old. We had a local group. We were working clubs like the Blue Flame down in Onset. One of the guys in the group, Skeeter, his mother used to own it. So she would let us play there. We had a group called Little Anthony and the Deltones. We were all still just in the 9th, 10th grade or whatever, but we started playing clubs and rec centers at that time. When I got about to the 10th, 11th grade, I started getting noticed. People started hearing about me, however they would chat. And some people from New Bedford, the Pinas, Mr. Pina, Carlton Pina, his family, Mr. Pina, his father had a vision of having this big orchestra, and it had never been done like this on R&B. You had Duke Ellington and these things, but he wanted to do a complete singing group with a full orchestra back at that time. And this was back about 67, 68, about 67. I was still in high school. That group was called the Young Professionals. There were 16 of us in that group. And it consisted of some local New Bedford residents. Danny Jones played sax in that group. Bobby Helms was one of the drummers. We had two drummers, Bobby Helms, Rick Zeus, who years before that played with Otis Redding. He was in that group. He was stationed at Otis Air Force Base, and he brought to us some older Air Force men that were stationed there that came from places like Richmond, Virginia, Annapolis, very seasoned brothers that were older than us. Again, most of us at that time were, I think when I joined them, I think Carlton Pina, rest in peace, was 14. I was 15 at the time. We were the youngest in the group with the sister Gina. And we had Ricky Ramos in there. Russell Almeida was in that group. And it was amazing because we had 16 pieces. We had 5 male singers and 1 female singer. That was Gina Pina, Gina Antunes. We had the, blue tuxedos with the white gloves, and we did the choreography and all that stuff. It was very tight. Mr. Pina was so disciplined with it. But unfortunately, we had, guys in the group that didn't take it as serious. And when you have bands like that, what happens? And we had some success. We ended up making it up to Boston. We played, the Combat Zone, and we were all in high school. We were actually being brought up there, 5 and 6 nights a week. We were being driven up there by Mr. Pina, and then have to go back to school the next day. And these clubs were from like 8 to 1, 8 to 2, and we would still have to go to high school the next morning. So, but that's dedication. And we were too young to be in the club. They used to keep us in a dressing room upstairs, and when it was time for our show, we would come down. Those that were under 18 would come down and do their performances. But that gave me a chance to see things on a little bit larger scale. I remember when we first played there, we were opening up for a band from Chicago called Freddie Fender and the Fenders. They were the band that backed up the 5 Stair Steps, and ridiculous band, 5 horns, just ridiculous. And we were young, and it sort of shocked us a little bit to be. We got blown away. To be honest with you, we got blown away. I myself took it very personally, as some in the group did. I think when we got back from that, I think that show set the path for a few of us in the group. From 16, we broke it down to about 5. Arthur Monterio, he's also known as Buddy, played guitar. Back in that day, gifted man. I mean, so dedicated. Gina Antunes, Carlton on keyboards. We had put Wilk Zeus on drums, and myself, and we became the Spices. And that started things off. I met Tiny about that time, Tiny Tavares, who we're best friends. He's my daughter's godfather. Tiny and I have done so much work over the years. But I met Tiny at that time, about 15 years old, 16. I met Tiny. He was singing with his brothers, the Realities at the time. He was singing with Chubby. Chubby had left the Turnpikes in the West Coast, came back home for a while, and hooked up with, before he hooked up with us, Tiny came with me. It was me, Tiny, and Gina up front as a group with a 5-piece band. Antone Rose on bass, Carlton on keys, Buddy on guitar. And then when Chubby came back, he was looking to do some work. And of course, if you can get a chance to grab him, we want to grab Chubby. So we grabbed Chubby, and it was Chubby, myself, Tiny, and Gina, and we became the New Spices. We were 7 Spices when there were 7 of us. Then we became the New Spices because now there was 8, and we didn't want to be the 8 Spices. But when Chubby came with us, and this is something that's not as noted, I think, in local bio. I hear so many stories that are sort of wrong. I'm a living person from that, so I want to sort of set the record straight. There was a very successful period with the New Spices, and I really think that Mike Antunes, who also came to join us after he came off the road with Chuck Berry and Aretha Franklin, he was in upstate New York. He heard about us, this young band kicking ass, and he came down and joined us. So Mike became, where he was the oldest one. I was the youngest, but I was the leader of that. I just had a certain disposition that I'm OCD about things. So, but Mike came in, and I turned the leadership role over to Mike. And of course, back in those days, I was playing trumpet and singing. So, but I've always been a singer. but I also can play. Back then, I could play good trumpet. So we had developed the horn section. We brought another guy, a third guy in from New York City, Richard Fry, rest in peace, Richard Fry, he had done some work with Kool and the Gang and others way back in the days from Brooklyn, young boy. We took him off the road. We saw him on the road, took him off the road to join us. I moved him to New Bedford. He actually lived with me. He roomed with me and played alto sax. So it was Mike, myself, and Richard on horns. Then it was with Chubby, Tiny, Gina, and me up front. We had like a review. I would come on with Chubby and Tiny, and we would do stuff like, "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You." You know, smooth thing with the copper tuxedos, just a little different supper club. Then we would bring Gina on and we would do a Sly and the Family Stone medley and make it all funky. And then back then the singers only did 2 shows. So I would change, come back on and play with the band for 2 sets. So I worked 4 sets. Those guys only worked 2, you know, so I had to work the 2 with them, but I had to do all 4 as a singer and as a trumpet player. But then moving beyond that, we were playing, major rooms as the New Spices. I mean, it's never documented locally. People know, but they talk more about, no disrespect, because I respect them so much. Tavares sort of blankets a lot of us, you know, and a lot of the history gets, because we've all sort of played together, gets mixed up a little bit. But we had made it up to major rooms like Paul's Mall. You know, at the time, Paul's Mall was the #1 club on the East Coast. That's from Maine to Florida. Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, George Benson, they all played there every week. We didn't even have a record deal. And we were the only group going in there selling out every single night, 6 nights a week, the New Spices, you know. And I have to bring that up because it somehow gets lost. And I want to give people like, you know, Arthur Monterio, the other buddy on guitar, I want to give him his just due. And people like, you know, rest in peace, Carlton Pena, who led up, you know, was part of all that growth, and Gina, you know, for getting that far, because back in those days, it was very, very difficult for Black musicians to get to that level. These groups that were coming in, like Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind, they were coming from Chicago, LA, New York City. They weren't coming from Massachusetts. We come up in a very prejudiced time. You know, we're very hard to get work. We had to play what we call the Chitlin circuit. And I hate to call it that because that's degrading to my people. So I never call it that. But we had, because those were good clubs and they treated us good, but they were predominantly Black rooms. That's pretty much what you had to work. And you couldn't get up into that next level, or, you know, so that A&R people, record labels could see you. But we had people scouting us. We had Motown scouting us. I think Smokey Robinson had sent an A&R guy, one of his guys, down with his limo to the Salt and Pepper in the South End to see the New Spices doing a show there. We did a beautiful show there. And I know the word got back to Smokey. He was very interested, but I think there was some miscommunication from them to us, and then it got a little messy. But I was turning 19. When I turned 19, I was at Paul's Mall, singing at Paul's Malls, top of the world, knowing that we're going to get signed. And my dad was there at the club. He come in and he had a white envelope, and it was a draft notice. Oh. So I was the only one out of 8 guys. I was the only one out of 8 guys that got drafted. None of my friends got drafted. I got drafted. This is during the Vietnam War. But I got drafted at 19. And so I went into service, but I was fortunate to get stationed in Washington, D.C. And I got my rank so fast. I think I was a sergeant like in 10 months, because I was only in for 2 years. And I know that for that second year, I already had my stripes. I was an E5 at that time. So I was stationed at Walter Reed Hospital. And then I was able to move out of the hospital and get my own apartment, because it was right in D.C., in Northwest D.C. I had friends at Howard University that were from Wareham, Willie Cardoza, Lance Correa. They were going to Howard. So my dad called them and said, "Hey, my son's, you know, in D.C. Can you guys watch out for him? You know, they're older. So can you guys watch out for him, help him get set up?" And they did. They were like big brothers to me. Next thing I know, I'm hanging around down at Howard University, and I'm meeting Roberta Flack. I remember she was teaching there. Donnie Hathaway, met him there. And I was just, coming. I was just walking into the music rooms I remember I sat with Roberta Flack on the piano. It's a funny thing because I'm doing a show June 2nd. I won't announce too much of it because they just contacted me and sort of contracted me. It's going to be a concert at White's. I'll be doing a show with one of Roberta Flack's, a girl that Roberta Flack mentored from Baltimore. I'm not even going to mention her name until the posters come out, but who sings with Roberta Flack. Her and I are going to be the featured vocalist with a very hot national band that's going to be the main band, but we're going to be the vocalists for that band for that day. So that's a big thing that I'm working on for June 2nd. More details will come out about that. But up until that point in DC, then I happened to guys got connected and they started talking about me. I was sitting in at certain clubs and word got out really quick. It's funny how it's Chocolate City, man. Word gets out quick. That's a musical place. And word got out about me really quickly. Next thing I know, I get an audition with the Young Senators. That was DC's #1 band, the Young Senators. In fact, they're in the Hall of Fame in DC, and I got honorable mentioned. I'm honorably mentioned for the Go-Go Hall of Fame in DC. They didn't get me in, but they honorably mentioned me because I did work with them. And so I went in with them. I played trumpet and sang like a second lead. They had a lead singer. I sang second lead and played trumpet. They had lost their trumpet player. And I was only with them for about 3-4 months. But in reason being is that Eddie Kendricks left the Temptations. He knew of the band because they had a hit song called "In the Jungle" in DC. Still gets played in DC. They were considered a go-go band. DC doesn't call things R&B. They call it go-go. Their music has a lot of congas and stuff. If you listen to Marvin Gaye, you know the congas and stuff. In fact, I'm going to do a little bit of it when I perform. I picked a certain song that I want to get that DC flavor because DC really influenced me, and I end up singing there for many years. Even after I got back to Massachusetts, I was still performing in DC. And I think that when people say, well, where do you work around here? Well, most of my work is 90% of it has been out of here, out of state. All over Canada, Nova Scotia, Halifax, lots of work in DC, Atlantic City, Club Harlem, Wonder Gardens, DC, about 4 rooms that we used to work down there, mostly with the Authentics. When I came back and joined them, I'll get to that point. But anyway, so after Eddie Kendricks took them, and that's the band that's playing on Keep On Trucking. Keep On Trucking, babe. That's the band that is playing that whole record. That's Young Senators. And that's the band that I had done some work with. Eddie took them he had about a few hits with them. And then again, they left them. But I got my sister was on the bus with a girlfriend to New York City. And she met this brother was on the bus and he looked really sad. So they just started a conversation. They caught the bus from Boston to New York. And so they, it's her and a girlfriend. They said, what's wrong? Why are you so sad? He said, I shouldn't be sad. He says, I'm on my way to join the background singers for Marvin Gaye. That's Bobby Wallace. So he said, but I'm sad because I'm leaving my group that I've been with for 6 or 7 years, the Montclairs, which they had already started in getting some recognition. So he was one of their lead singers. So he says, I feel really bad about leaving them because we're already starting to make it, and I got to leave them. I had this opportunity. He said, but they're going to be looking for a replacement for me. He said they're auditioning now, and my sister Kathy said, well, my brother sings. My brother's singing in DC. He's a good singer, got a lot of experience, and I'm sure he'd like to come back to Massachusetts. So anyway, numbers were exchanged. My sister sent me the number. I called the band leader up, which is Walter Cooper, up in Boston. I called Cooper up, and I think I could be wrong with this number, but I think he said they had already auditioned 75 guys up until that point. They were pretty much done with their auditions. They had been doing it for a while. But I wanted to come back home so bad. I said, listen, you won't be disappointed. I said, if I come back, you're going to hire me. I said, I'll make sure I'm that 76 guy, but I'm going to be the one that you pick. And so he said, well, and he's, might have thought I might have been a little cocky, but I was just confident. And he said, well, we're tired of doing these auditions, but if you want to come, he says, I dropped some names like in my little work that I've done with Chubby, and, those names at that time, this was 72. So about that time, Tavares, they had been on the national scene at that time. So if you dropped a name, people knew who it was. So I was dropping names, you know. I said, well, I've done some work with, you know, with some members of Tavares. And I said, I had that, you know, that level of experience. So they were interested. They said, come on up. I got my little Volkswagen that I had bought out of the showroom for $19.99 cash, brand new with a sticker on it, a Volkswagen. We had a showroom. It was the only one in the showroom at this dealership in Maryland. They were so popular back then. The guy only had one car, no lot, nothing. Brand new car dealership, Volkswagen, one little showroom, one red car, no choice. I couldn't get white, black, green. I said, you're gonna have to take this car. So I bought that, drove that back to Boston at about 50 miles an hour, not really knowing how to drive a standard shift that well. I drove directly, I think it took me 11 hours straight. I drove right to Dorchester to Walter's house. Man, I was tired as can be. And I came in, I had a big afro at that time. So I come in and they're looking at me and, you know, I can see them sizing me up. They're all sitting on the couch in the living room and they wanted me just to come in and sing a cappella. There was no mics or nothing, you know. So I auditioned with Who Can I Turn To by Main Ingredient, you know. And I, you know, and by the way, as soon as I finished halfway through, William Lessenberry, the lead vocalist at that time, phenomenal singer, said, yep, that's our guy. That's our guy. So they were already signed to a management company. So when they brought the manager in to hear me, to hear the new guy, because he was very interested in who was replacing this Bobby Wallace, who was very popular. And he liked me so much, he said that my sound changed the sound of the group. He said, so we should not continue as the Montclairs. Let's change the name. So we changed the name to, you know, the Authentics. And so it was my coming in there that, you know, led to a name change. They probably didn't need to because they were very popular. The guys are all talented. The Cooper brothers in Lessenberry. And and then that started a great run. It started a great run. That was one of the more disciplined groups I've ever been with in my life. That was a group that was destined to, we just blew away everybody. When we traveled, people took notice. We were in DC. I remember we were following groups like New Birth. We did a show with Harold Melville and the Blue Notes, a couple of shows with them. Back in those days when they were really big, not now. Now there's no disrespect now, but now they're sort of watered down. But this is when they were young, when they were in their 20s with their hits. We were kicking butt, man. We did the very first tour for Blue Magic. Their very first tour when Sideshow was #1, their tour started here in Springfield, Massachusetts. It started at a ballroom at the Hotel New Yorker. We opened up for them, but we were supposed to do the whole tour with them throughout the country as their opening act. But there was problems. We were too strong. Ted Mills, the lead singer, did not like it. Did not like it. He said, this act, the opening act is stronger than us.
Ooh.
You know? Yeah. We went and had these pink suits made for, I'll have to send you pictures. We had these pink suits tailor-made by the tailor who made the Pips suits for Gladys Knight. He was a Chinaman in Chinatown in China. He was a Chinese tailor. And he was making all the group suits like Gladys Knight and all of them back in the day. They would come to Boston to have, you know, their custom suits made. So we had these pink suits made with like a maroon velveteen collars. And when we opened up, the pleats all show burgundy. We could fly. So we had a lot of choreography. But, you know, they said we were too strong. We didn't get the second part of the tour. We got that one day. That was it. And we know we did a great job because people were giving us standing ovations. And we said, you know, our manager couldn't understand, well, why, you know, but he told the truth. Their manager told our manager, too strong for the tour. Too strong. They didn't want, you know, they became better. But this was their first. And I think they went on to bigger events like theaters and stuff, but they started their first tour off in ballrooms. Because they didn't have enough records to be bringing in 2,000, 3,000 people. So they started off, as most of us did, in ballrooms that you could bring in 400, 500 people, you know, right. and then start building up from there as your record starts to sell. But anyway, that was that part of it. So from the Authentics, we had a serious mishap. We had one of our lead singer got into a very bad situation. Had to go away for a while, and still alive right now. But I love him so much. William Lessenberry, fantastic fan, one of the best vocalists I've ever heard. He's from Yazoo City, Mississippi, but unfortunately, a little dementia now and not able to perform. And it breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart that the people can't hear his wonderful voice. So I mention him all the time when I do shows. I like to throw the words out, give love to people that have helped you along your journey. But anyway, when he went away, because he was our principal lead singer, I was the secondary lead singer, and we all could sing lead, but I think him and I sang the most lead. But my role was, I was also a dancer. I was good with choreography, so they wanted to keep me in the back. And if I can, right to my right, because I'm in my studio, I have what the Temptations used to use. It's called a tree. It's one stand with 3 mics. And we used to design all our choreography off it. I just had it custom done. I just had it redone. Walter brought it down to me and said, "Buddy, I think you should have this." He had it in a shed up in Newton, and it was getting a little rusty, whatever. So I had it all re-chromed. I rewired all the stems, because you just the stems, the wires go through the stems, so you don't see any wires. And I had that all redone. So I'm hoping in the future to do like I want to do a tribute to the OJs, and I want to use that. I'm working on it now. I'm actually working with a couple of guys, just that they've got different schedules. I can't seem to get it because one's down in Florida. I can't seem to, we're working on getting him up here so we can at least have a couple of rehearsals before I put this show on. But I'll be producing it. I've got everything ready, the music. I've had it ready for 2 years. That's one of the reasons why you don't see me out there in clubs. This is the sort of the stuff that I'm working on. And anyway, so when William Lessenberry left, I got a call from Kevin Gomes, because we're homeboys. Me and Kevin started together when those groups I was talking about when I was 10, 11, 12. That was me, Kevin, and Skeeter, Skeeter Santos. We were at that time actively practicing in our houses and in our basements. We were getting our harmony together at that young age. We all could harmonize. We all could harmonize instantly. All had good ears. Our voices were getting so developed at those young ages. Anyway, Kevin gives me a call and says he got a deal. There was a song that him and Arthur Monterio wrote, and they sent a demo in to this producer in Philadelphia. And the producer, liked the song and said, "I've got something that you might like, a song that he wrote or he's producing by Pal Rates, the gentleman who wrote Diamond in the Back, Sunroof Top, right. William Devon." Okay. Gangsta White Walls. The guy who wrote that wrote You're My Main Squeeze for us. So Kevin calls me and said, "Buddy, I got a deal. I got a chance for a deal." And he had a group. He had 3 other singers, but he didn't know if they were going to be capable in the recording studio. So he just thought that if he's going to go to Philadelphia, he thought he wanted to bring, a little bit more experience. So he said, would you like to come? He said, "You don't have to join the group," because I was still with the Authentics at the time. He said, "You don't have to join the group." He said, "But can you come and just sing on the record?" So I said, "No problem," because we weren't working. We lost our lead singer. We were in a stagnant zone. We didn't know if we were going to stop or audition somebody else. It's hard when you've been working so many years with the same people. It's hard to replace them. Anyway, so I came. I went to no practice. I got right in the limousine, and we drove to Philadelphia, right downtown Society Hill, right where the Mike Douglas show is shot. But that's also where Gamble and Huff. So we were with a label called Sound Gems, which is on the same floor as Gamble and Huff. Actually, Gamble and Huff sort of is like the parent label of that. You have all these subsidiary labels because as artists develop, they start working their way up to the big label, But that big label sort of oversees and is looking for that young talent through those, I call them artist development labels. Mm-hmm. So we went and we had a full orchestra. We had a full orchestra in the studio. We recorded that with, I think it was like a 32 piece, somewhere around the orchestra, all the horns. It was, I'm not sure if it was MFSB or TSOP. It was one of those 2 orchestras. Either it was MFSB, which, their history, OJ's everybody, or it was TSOP, the Sound of Philadelphia. I'm not sure, can't remember which of the 2 orchestras. But we were there when they put the music down, all live. We did a part 1, a part 2. And in that group that was there was Kevin Gomes, myself, John Paris, and and Skeeter Santos. We were the four that recorded "You're My Main Squeeze." And while they were getting the studio ready, they wanted us to go into this room to warm up. It was across the hallway, so we all went over there to go warm up, with a piano player to get our voices warm before we went into the booth. And we met Eddie Levert. And we used to call John Parrish Eddie Levert because he looked just like a young Eddie Levert.
Yes, he did. I remember.
Yeah. And he used to sing like him too, real hard, that hard, raspy voice. I love him. Rest in peace, John, because that's another great guy that, God rest his soul, had he stood around, we'd be singing right now, And but anyway, John had a personality that everybody just liked. He had that really loose, hey, let's have a drink together type of personality, And Eddie liked him. We told Eddie that, this is your twin, and we got talking to him, and Eddie, I think, came in and watched part of our session to give us a little encouragement. Actually watched.
Oh, he went off. Is he back on?
Yeah, I'm back on. I'm here. Yeah, part of the recording session. And anyway, Kevin, after our session, Kevin was walking down the hallway, and he happened to walk into Kenny Gamble's office. Gamble and Huff. And there's Kenny sitting at this big desk. In walks Eddie Levert with a cassette, and he gives it to Kenny Gamble and says, "We're finished with the album." It was their demo for Message in the Music album. That album had all their big hits on it. And they had just finished it in the studio, and he was presenting it to the producer, saying, "Here, Kenny, we're done with now. Kenny's going to take it from there and turn it into an album." But we saw that. We actually saw before it became an album, we saw the cassette being handed to Kenny Gamble. So, so anyway, so from there, we had You're My Main Squeeze came out. It was being charted. It was on the top. It was pick of the week in LA, New York City, Atlanta, Miami. But what happened is that this Sound Gems label with Pal Rates, who was the producer, Frank Fioravanti, who was the sort of owner of it, there was some back taxes. They sent out 5,045s because they put out singles back then. They sent out 5,045s, and that went to the radio stations. And then as it started rising up the charts, they said, "Okay, this is going to sell." They had another 50,000 printed in boxes in Philadelphia. FBI came in and confiscated everything. Wow. They owed taxes. They confiscated all the records. So we were on the air. We were on the air everywhere. I think WPRO had its like pick of the week for 2 weeks. The Beatles never got pick of the week. That's every day you're pick of the day for 2 weeks. Even the Beatles and WPRO didn't. Christian Motion did. And but we got no sales. So after a while, popularity started dying down because we were being heard on the radio. People couldn't go buy the record anywhere. And back then you had to buy records. There wasn't streaming and CDs. Right. It was just the vinyl 45 itself. So, but we had enough. The radio play got us enough to tour. We toured. Kevin, myself, and Skeeter. We broke it down to 3 guys. John had some issues, and we had to let him put him out of the group for a while so he could heal himself. So we broke it down to just 3 of us: Kevin, myself, and Skeeter. And we started touring, and we Lake Theater, Lake Placid, Canada, Burlington. I think we got keys to the city. We even played a basketball game. We were celebrities up in Vermont, Burlington, that city. We were celebrities, and the mayor had us play a celebrity game against the University of Vermont basketball team. Now you're a sports guy, back in the 70s they sucked.
Yeah,
everybody beat them because no brothers wanted to be in Burlington, Vermont. We played them as a band and beat them. How embarrassing is that? We're not even. I mean, we're athletes. I was an athlete. Kevin was. I played football. I was captain of track. I was an athlete in high school too. I played football, track. Track was my main thing. I had a 1-year scholarship to Brown. And Kevin played football. So Skeeter did too. We were athletes. But we weren't basketball players. We're too short. Right. We weren't basketball players. And it was just so funny that our band beat a college basketball team. Oh, but now, I mean, they've gotten they're good. They're good now, but back in those days they were terrible. So that was a fun thing. We got keys to the city there, but through all of that, that was probably about 2 or 3 years with Christian Motion. Kevin had to leave. He had to make a choice between family and music. I wasn't married at the time. I had no children. Skeeter was married. He had children. So, you have to support it. Music is tough. You're throwing a lot of your money back into it, and you're not taking home much. You've got to always buy equipment, buy uniforms, your travel expenses, all that stuff. You're just trying to make it so you get to a point where your money is here and you have a little bit left over for your personal self. So it was very tough back in those days. So he had to leave. Skeeter and I kept it going for about 1 year, and I knew myself right then that, I had to keep moving on. So we broke that up, and I got married. I met my wife, and I said, Dana Ferrier, who was president of Bridgewater State University, was a very good friend and a mentor of mine. He used to be our manager with Christian Motion, and Dana told me, he said, buddy, he says, you're smart. He says, this music thing, I think at that time I might have been 25. He said, now I think you should go back and, get your education. And I was in the Army, so I had my GI Bill. Dana says, let me take care of it. He says, I'll get you into college and you can live with me until you get your own place. That's how good he was. So as a got me into college. And then after that, I got recruited, to the work for the railroad in Boston and Maine, over there on Causeway Street, right beside Boston Garden. I used to watch Larry Bird and them. We used to catch the elevator up together. Robert Parrish, Bird. I used to be in the elevator. I'd be about this big. Because of the celebrity, we had to catch the freight elevator. I was on the 8th floor of 150 Causeway. If you look at the garden, there's a little bridge that goes from about the 8th floor over to the garden. They would go up the freight elevator and walk across that bridge to get into the garden to practice. And we would come in about the same time every day that I would get into work. They'd be going in the freight elevator. So we got used to seeing them every day. And my nephew is Kevin Gamble, who's a scout. Yeah, Kevin played for the Celtics. He took Larry Bird's place. And that's my nephew. He married my niece, Alicia. And we see him all the time. And now he's scouting for the Toronto Raptors. He scouts he scouts for them now. But anyway, make a long story short, beyond that, so I go through that period. Now I'm getting married, going to my work mind. I'm a worker. I'm a worker. I take pride as much in what I've done during the day as I do in my music. So I got into the business, worked for the railroad for a few years. Then they closed. They laid off 3,500. It was the largest layoff in Massachusetts. A lot of the guys went into the MBTA. I chose not to. I went into the automobile business. My brother-in-law was a service manager up in Lowell, got me into the automobile business. I immediately succeeded. Within 2 months, I was like salesman of the month. I think I won 24 trophies in a row, set all kind of records up there in the North Shore in the Boston area. But I got into finance and leasing way before everybody. And through Bill, what's Bill's last name? Trying to think of his last name. It'll come to me in a minute. I'm just talking about so many things. But it was one of the first dealers up there to start a lease program, because auto leasing wasn't even happening at the time. This is, again, back in early 80s. So, but I learned it. I got into it, and I just absorbed it. And I became the number one lease guy in the Boston metropolitan area. Probably out of then I end up probably out of 150 dealers. I get honorable mention for the Chevrolet Hall of Fame as a salesperson, and built my life with my wife. And then I had kids. So we were actually, this is up in Lawrence, Mass. Where it's funny because that's I lived in Lawrence as a baby. That's my mother's home. My mother's home place. My mother's from Lowell, but she grew up in Lawrence. So my family is in Lawrence. As my wife's family's from Lawrence, Springfield to Lawrence. Lawrence to Brockton, from Brockton to Onset. That's how my early years came. We moved from Brockton to Onset after a divorce. My father moved me to Onset from Brockton. So I'm a Brockton guy too, I guess, But from there, I end up working in that field for a good 10 years. Got quite a reputation up in the North Shore. You know, Tiny, all those brothers all got their cars from me. I'd special order all their vehicles, but leasing was my main thing. One of the owners of one of the dealerships that I worked at, the owner John Reineke, multi-millionaire, I think he owned like 6 or 7 large dealerships in Boston. He said, "Listen," he said, "I don't want to lose you." He says, "But I want to go into business with you. I want to get you out of here. I want to start a leasing company with you, just you and I." So he took me now in here working for him as his lease manager. I was making $2,500, $3,000 a week. A week. This is back in the 80s, so you can imagine. In the 80s, every week, I used to come home and lay the $100 bills on my kitchen table so that my daughters could see if they could fill the whole kitchen table up with hundreds end to end. I used to do that every week. So anyway, we ended up owning. I ended up getting incorporated in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I opened a company called State Line Leasing. The building's still there up on 28 in Salem, New Hampshire, which is the main commercial district of New Hampshire is Salem. And I was right on the strip, State Line Leasing. I ended up doing commercial leasing. I got a deal with Manufacturers Hanover Trust in New York City, at that time the nation's largest bank. They gave me a $2 million credit line, and I started doing tractor trailers. And I became very big in the rubbish industry. I did Cape Cod rubbish contract. I did some for BFI, a lot of independent guys. I built the trucks, built the compactors. I had the compactors built in New Jersey. I put them together, and I would lease them. I would lease them out of my own credit line, and then do what they call open-end leases. So I did that. We were again number 3 out of 150 leasing companies. We're the 3rd largest, and we were only a 2-man operation. I had 3 salespeople, but we started off as just a 2-man operation. My partner was only a financial backer. My wife will tell you, I worked in a little office size of my studio. I think we did $2 million the first year, and I was just in an office 10 by 10. They thought I had a big building. I ended up getting the building within the next year. But my first deals that I put together were put together in that little office. But I'm on the phone making me sound bigger than I was. But all of that, through all of that, but still I did music. I still did music. I want to get back to the music part of it. I was still doing music, but I was building my family. So I was doing jingles. And we were talking about this last night. I was doing commercials. And I had a thing. My cousin, Cindy Gomes, who was back then, I think she was going to Northeastern, and she was singing with the Boston Pops. She now she works for CBS. She's amazing. Anyway, back then when she was in school, she heard about. She got tied into this. I don't know if it was an agent or somebody that handled jingles. That was looking for people to do jingles. So she couldn't do this particular one. Gave him my contact, and I went in and I did supposedly they say it was the number 1 running jingle in Boston for Jason's Lounge. Jason's Lounge was at that time during the 80s was like the main lounge in Boston. Jason's Lounge. That was the place that you'd go, was the hippest place. And I did that for whining and dining and dancing and fun. Come to Jason's, we're number 1. That was the number 1 commercial in Boston for years. It won every year for years and years. I got $1,500 for that, and I recorded that in a clown suit, Mike. We were going to a Halloween party when they called me to go into the studio, but the guy said, "I need you in the studio today. We can't postpone this." I said, "Look, I'm in a costume." I said, "I'm going to a Halloween party in Boston." No, I was living there at the time. I said, "I'm going to a Halloween party. My wife and me and my cousin Cindy, we're going to a Halloween party." I says, "I'm in a clown's costume. I had an orange wig, my face done up, a big red nose. I had all that white makeup. I had this, flowered suit. And I won that night too. I won best costume." So imagine it, Mike. I walk into the studio. This is Studio B. There's Studio A, Studio B, dominant studios in Boston. Most of your larger recording acts, when they come to Boston, they're going to record. Back and then they're going to record Studio B or Studio A. So I did those jingles in Studio B. So I go in, and I'm meeting the producer for the first time, because it was funny how they do jingles. You only sing, because it's a commercial, the singing is only 15 seconds. Then what they do, they loop you. They loop you. They play it. They pause. The guy talks whatever about the product, and then they put it back on. So I did I think just 2 takes, because he had to teach it to me. I didn't know what I was going to sing when I got there. He says, "You're going to sing for whining and dining and dancing and fun. Come to Jason's, we're number one." So, okay. And he said, "Wait, and we got a girl from Manchester that's going to sing an octave above that. And then I'm going to stack the voices, and then that's it." He says, "And get your check and you're out of here." So I went in the booth. I did it. Boom, get out of there. I mean, and they're laughing. The engineers are laughing because you can see how funny I looked. I took the nose off. I could take the nose off. It was a red ball. I took the nose off, put the ball in my pocket. And I'm like, and I'm singing in the studio. I'm in the booth like you see, on TV. I'm in the booth, the headphones on with over the wig because I couldn't take any of that shit off. And then went on to the Halloween costume and won the prize that night.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and my wife was telling me yesterday that the prize that we won at the Halloween costume, we were so drunk after the party that we left the prize on a car. so I never got it. But anyway, leading up past to more current now here. Tiny had left the brothers back in '89. And for whatever, I don't get into anything of that, but he was coming up. Tiny used to come up and stay with my wife and I up in Lawrence, and we used to take vacations together, Hampton Beach, with his boys. And we were very, very tight back then, and we wanted to do something. So I came down. I was already working with Carlton Pena. I had been coming down with Carlton. Never stopped working with Carlton. I would come down from Lawrence on Sunday, my day off. I would come down and I would go over to, then he was living on Fair Street. I would go over to his, on the third floor, and I would spend 7 hours. I'd come in the morning, spend 7 hours recording with Carlton. I did this for years and years up until his death. Any track that Carlton has that has voices on it, I'll bet 90% is my voice that's on those background tracks. I went to Carlton and I were studio rats right up until his death. Right up until his death, I was in there 3 days a week with him, doing as much, more so creating. We just checking out certain sounds, and he really had a good vision. Wanted to do things. We wanted to do more together as a duo. Unfortunately, his illness that last year we just couldn't put together. It's another reason why you don't see me out there, because the things that I was working on, unfortunately, people passed. And in this course, all that, Tiny and I, we had the club. We got the Fishermen, and we had that. We changed the name to Montava. We had that for a couple of years. He went back with his brothers, and God bless him. He's had major success again. But we had that club. I ran that club for a couple of years, and through that club, I put together a group. When I knew I wasn't going to release it because we had leased it, I didn't want to sign another lease. And I put together a group from the bands that were coming in. We had bands coming in from all over the country, and as I got to know certain individuals, started to put together a band from there. And it was going to be a band for me and Perry, but again, he got back with his brothers and things were going well. So I just kept the band for myself and called it Code Blue. In that,
that's what I remember.
serious guys in that band. That no disrespect to any of my friends, but that's the best band I've ever. And to this day, some members of that group are going to be in this show that I'm going to do for the OJs. I'm in contact with some of those guys, and man, I can't even explain the doors that group broke down. I can't even explain it. The drummer was Baby John Roberts. He's now a professor at Berkeley, but he was Janet Jackson's drummer. He's the drummer that played on, at 19, he did the drum track for Will Smith's Summertime.
Wow.
And they won a Grammy for it. And check this story out. When the Grammys came on, when Will Smith accepted the Grammy for that, we were playing a club on Nantucket called The Muse. Now, in that group, I had John on drums. I had Andre Ward on sax, another Grammy winner. Earl Johnson, who won every jazz award in California up until his death, on keys. Amazing group. And in the club, The Muse, they had a big screen TV. And we had told the owner that if he could put it on the Grammys, because our drummer, Will Smith, is up for a Grammy, and our drummer did the drum programming for that song because he's from Philadelphia, good and best friends with Will. So here we are on stage, and Will Smith comes on the podium, and we stop playing. And then Will Smith says, I want to also give credit to the drum programmer, they call him Little John Roberts, who did the drum programming on this song. And the club just went like nuts because here he is on stage and he's accepting a Grammy, you know? And now he works. Yeah, now he's doing stuff with Brian Cobblestone. I stay in contact with him online, and he's just amazing. He did get a professorship at Berkeley. He's noted as top 5 drummers in the world. He was with George Duke up until George Duke died. Amazing drummer. But I had him, and again, these are people that people here didn't see. So I have to laugh sometimes when people come up and they go, "Oh, you sing? Oh, you play? Wow, what do you play?" I have to laugh because I don't want to bemean them,
right.
Or just say, "Well, I'm not at the this little club over here. I don't play that club, because we've done other things, and
Right.
And I'm kind of picky, but and it's not to say you're better than anyone. It's not that. You just with me, it's about I like certain size stages. The music's got to be right. It's never been about the money for me. It's been about the quality of music, and it leads me to the next chapter, to my connection with Armstead. People that knew Armstead or knew up until is that my relationship with Armstead is well documented. I became a student of his. He was a mentor of mine. We end up, me, him, and Jackie ended up working with we had that A-list group. And that we had Jackie had put together. Jackie sort of started it, and it was Armstead, myself, us 3 were the first to foundation, and it built out from there. But Armstead he'd be at my house 3-4 days a week in my cellar on Fairmont Street when I lived up in New Bedford on Fairmont Street. Armstead would come over, and I had built a nice studio in my basement, and he knew I'd be down there. He respected my work ethic to the fact that I sing every day. Like I'm down here right now. I got this mic featured here because my grandchildren bought me this mic.
Wow.
It's the base of this mic is almost 50 pounds. That's how heavy the base is. It's sterling silver. They're sending it out to have it engraved with all the musicians that I've worked with. Their names are going to be on that base.
Wow.
So they haven't sent it out yet because they want to get this. I got this for my birthday. So they want to give this to because they had a custom order it. So tonight it's going to be the very first night that I've sung on it. So and I'm doing this for my grandkids. I want them to see me use it because since they bought it, I haven't really done any shows with it. So I'm going to try it out tonight. I sound check with it. It sounds good. So whether it did or not, I'd still sing on it. But it brought me up to my relationship with Armstead, and Armstead gave me, his support and his patience because he understood how serious I take my singing. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times you don't get, when you're the leader of a band, you don't get the feedback, the tips. They think that you sort of know it all and those type of things. But I was a student, and to this day I am. I mean, to this day I study. I listen to one of my favorite singers is Eric Benet, and I study him. I go in those videos, I study him. I listen to certain tones, and I go out and see these people live too. Because I'm always striving for just a certain perfection, and for myself, it's not to be I'm past the big star thing. Right now I get a conversion van. My wife and I travel around the country. I just came back from the West Coast. Did 6,000 miles with it. We were in Virginia 2 weeks ago. I drove down there, and I'm planning to drive it to Alaska. So that's the life that I'm living. But the music is still there. That's why these practice videos that you post that I put out, there's a reason why I don't dress up for them, because they're practice videos. These songs that I'm singing, most of them I don't do in my live show. I'm practicing them just for a day when I might want to use them. So when I put those videos on, I'm recording them on my phone. Right here as I'm sitting here. I put the phone there and I turn the music on and I record them that way. There's nothing special about them not using auto-tune, none of that stuff. But I also want to say it's a practice video. So I like, the compliments that I get on them. I get wonderful feedback on them, lots of love. Excuse me. But I also I'm just showing people that I practice. That's, so I'm always vocally ready if I have something to do, I'm vocally ready. I don't have to take a week or so to warm up. I warm up at least 3 to 4 days a week. I'm down here and I come down here for work for 4 or 5 hours. I do 42 songs, and I'll do 42 songs in a row, just for strength. And I do that. And that's for me. That's for something that I enjoy doing, like a golfer enjoys golf and a basketball player enjoys shooting hoops. I enjoy singing. And I
Right.
take it as an art, not as a money-making thing at this stage. I'm pretty well financially. My wife and I live a good life. I got a beautiful house here in Wareham. I live right on the water. I got 2 other properties. I'm good, And yep, and and we do okay. So I don't have to go out there and go get that $100, But
Exactly.
and I don't dispute the guys that do that. They look at, man, this guys is just like to play. It's not about the money that they make. I just think myself personally, I just think that musicians here are talented. You hear it everywhere that you go. When you go out of town, you hear about musicians in Massachusetts. All them brothers say, "Man, you guys got some talent back there." But I always say, "But they don't get paid." we're in a state that doesn't pay. They don't pay. That's why we don't get many recording artists. Look at all of us, all the talent that all these guys I've mentioned have. There's no hit records. There's no record contract. Yet again, you can turn on the radio and listen to people that don't even sing or perform as well as some of the guys right here. But they don't look. But they don't look at our area, Mike. And it's athletically, it's the same thing as far as sports. They just don't look at this area. They look at Minneapolis, New York City, L.A. If you want to make it in the music business, I tell people, get there. Go to Atlanta. Go to L.A. You got to get there. You got to get into that scene because it's not here in Massachusetts, and it's a shame because I get young people that want me to give them vocal lessons.
Right.
In fact, I'm teaching my granddaughter, my youngest granddaughter right now has an interest in vocals. Good singer. I got 2 granddaughters that can really sing well, Diamani and my youngest one, Deanna. And I'm working with Deanna now. Diamani she won the red ticket for American Idol to go to California. She was only in the 10th grade, so she didn't want to go, but she auditioned and won the ticket to California at 10 in the 10th grade. So I had her on a jazz festival that McKellen Roderick and I ran here in Onset, the Onset Beach Jazz Festival. We own that, and we ran that for 4 years. And I had her as a singer on there when she was 12 years old. I had her doing a song by Christina Aguilera, "Hurt." Tore it up. So I mean, it's talent. But where do you go with them? You can't. There's not a major label or nothing you can introduce them to. You have to send them away, unfortunately. Otherwise, they don't look at Massachusetts. Stevie Wonder won't even come here.
Right.
Because of prejudice. We still have that stigma here, and you see it locally. Look at, man, there's rooms right here locally that some say, "Buddy, how come you don't go sing over there?" I say, "Man, I can't. I'm not going to humble myself by walking to that manager, giving them a resume that's 2 pages long, and then they tell me, 'Oh, no, can't, not that type of music.' When all I'm doing is singing popular songs.
Right.
I'm not singing anything nasty or rich, but they don't want this because this brings my people in the club and gets everybody nervous.
They don't want that.
Gets them all nervous, and they, for some reason, I don't have an unruly following, but these club owners here, they think that, and you can't get into these a little bit bigger rooms. You have a very hard time unless you mix the band up a little bit. And this is nothing about, it's not prejudicial, but just it's a statement. It's the truth. So anyway, from Armstead up, the A-list rep until Armstead's death. When Armstead died, I was in the Bahamas. I came right back. I was a pallbearer, for him. And my closest to Marcy, she knows my love for Armstead. In fact, I'm looking at a picture right now. He's been my biggest influence.
Wow.
This is a beautiful picture that's hanging in my studio. This is him kissing me on the head. And they had this picture hanging up right near his room, his teaching room at Berkeley. They had it on the wall in the hallway. But he was my biggest influence. To me, changed my whole idea of what I wanted to sing. That I wasn't stretching enough. He told me that challenge yourself more. Listen to the American Songbook, stretch yourself, take more challenging songs. And and you told me that's 15 years ago, and I've always done that, but it just made me want to take on more. So I started opening up my mind to Eric Benet, to to more Donny Hathaway, to to some of the B-sides of like the OJ stuff that Peabo Bryson, who I listen to a lot. That's when I did Feel the Fire, sorry, by Peabo. I do a few things by him because again I wanted to extend that range, sing that range, and he would compliment me. He'd work me through those songs like a coach works an athlete through. Sing it again, sing it
Yeah.
again, sing it again, sing it again, and I think right now that's probably.
You know something, Dan? If you could hear me, my show. I don't know if you can hear me. Hopefully you can. Um, my show is really only an hour, but because of you, I said it was worth it, and hopefully you can perform a couple of songs before we go. I think he said you can hear me. Yeah. My show usually an hour, but I said no. This is important. I want you to express yourself and give you your roses. Let me see if I can do this. Maybe again. Hold on. Let me go again. by the Sports Wave Network. And is he back on? I think we have him back on. I think he's back on. Dan, you there? I think he's back on. Hopefully he's there. I think he might be there. I don't know. Uh, this has been one of them nights, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Is he there? Dan, you there? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I think he's on now. His voice. There we go again. Damn. Nothing wrong with the voice again. Damn. I don't know.
It might be on his side, Con. I don't know if he can't hear you.
I know. You're still listening to us, huh? It's a great show. What a great show. But he wants to. He got a couple of songs. Is he there now? He's having problems at his house. He's having problems again. Okay, he's saying he can't hear me. What is he doing now?
He said he can't hear you.
Oh.
I think it's his connection. You might have to come out and come back in again.
Yeah. Hey, I hope he ain't getting going on tonight. This is like my tribute to this guy, but you might have to tell him to go back on again, and we can close this up like before 8. If it's okay with you.
Yeah, I think he's gonna come back in and come out.
All right, Key, I owe you big time. Oh boy, do I owe you after this one. But getting back, we had the pleasure of having Danny Monteiro on the show, and I didn't know half of what he told me about his career. I had no idea. Sometimes people don't really go and talk about what they've accomplished, and I had no idea what he's accomplished, and so it was good that he can straighten out some things that people maybe don't know.
Mike, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, my brother.
Okay, let's get this music done quick, okay?
Yes, let's get this done, my brother. So, I was just talking about, what a great vocalist you are, and if you could possibly do a couple of songs for the folks so they can witness your great talent.
Sure. Okay, this first one that I selected, again, this is Black History Month.
Yes.
And, as I was telling you earlier, the wife and I had traveled out to the West Coast, and we wanted to hit a few historic spots. So we wanted to go to Tulsa to see the Greenwood neighborhood, Black Wall Street. We wanted to definitely do that. And I have to say, it touched us. It just touched our hearts. The minute we got there, the whole vibe, just to see the monuments and the businesses which still have Black Wall Street logos on their doors, and just amazing. What an amazing neighborhood. The AME Church we went to, and but again, this gentleman here was, to me, somebody that I listened to as a kid. I ended up had a good opportunity to meet his daughters, Layla and Kenya, when they were students at Berkeley. When I was putting that Code Blue band together, we were rehearsing at Berkeley, and they just happened to walk in, look and see if they could do some background vocals, but they went on to become big stars. So I'm glad they didn't work with me. All the better for them. But this is their dad. It's a song that the dad wrote, which I love, because I'm a guy that preaches love. I love my family. I love my daughters. I love everybody. I always say love brings love. It's one of my favorite sayings. And I try to always put my sets like that. Song by Donny Hathaway called Love, Love, Love. Can you hear that okay, Mike? You clap your hands if you want to out there somewhere. Love, love, love. Why'd you take so long to come to me? Oh, baby. And love, love, love. Tell me where you're hiding from me all the time. Each time I tried to find someone to take your place, it was all in vain. No, their lips were never quite the same. baby. When I was kissing someone new, deep inside I was missing you. Oh, baby, you make me fall in love with you. Now I don't know just what I'm gonna do. Oh, said honey, honey, I looked out into empty space, and all I saw was your sweet face. Yes, your sweet face. Oh, your sweet face. I said, love, love, love. You can't imagine what you did to me. Oh, baby. And love, love, love. Every time you smile, it goes through me. All the time. Day by day, I'm falling more in love with you. And that's no lie. Cross my heart and honey, I hope to die. Baby, no, I'm not trying to mislead you. Believe me, girl, I really need you. Oh, little baby, you make me fall in love with you. Now I don't know just what I'm gonna do. Oh, honey, honey, I looked out into empty space, and all I saw was your sweet face. Oh, baby, baby, you made me fall in love with you. Now I don't know just what I'm gonna do. I said, love, 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 love. I said, love, love, love. You made me fall in love with you. Now I don't know just what I'm gonna do, but love you. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is that okay? You hear that? Okay.
That was good, my brother. Very good.
Okay. Now this next song, you know, as in R&B, I mean, we have idols and that we look up to in R&B. I don't think you can go to any hood in any city or town that brothers and sisters live and not think about this group and what they've meant to us in our R&B, rhythm and blues legacy. And that's the Whispers. And I've always said, you know, and I think they've been acknowledged to be, and I can feel it my way too, so under-recognized. You know, they're not playing stadiums and all that. You know, they sold millions of records. Still, you don't hear about them as much. They seem to always have been just there. But in Black history, musically, the Giants. They're going to go down as one of the best R&B singing groups of all time. All time. A lot of babies were made with these guys. An interesting song that I've drawn to. I don't do a whole lot of things by them because they're a singing group, so you want to have all those background vocals. I did have background vocals put into this track, but this is an interesting song because I worked, you know, for the drug court for a number of years here in New Bedford and Plymouth. That's where I retired from, and many of the young women that were in that environment had been led there by somebody that brought them into that, gave them those drugs or turned them out, you know, into the streets or whatever. And this is a true story. The Whispers mention this all the time. When this song was written, it's called Olivia. And when this song was written, it was written about a real woman named Olivia. And she's alive to this day. She had been turned out, you know, a pimp, put her out in the street so you can make some money.
Uh-huh.
And she was very young. So she got lost. She got lost and turned out. And that's what this song is about. And to this day, I just watched a concert of theirs a couple of weeks ago, and they were actually telling this story, as they do, just, again, how much the song meant to her family when the song was written. because it exposed a lot of that. How back in the day, players were putting girls out, and these young girls were somebody's daughter. I have daughters myself, so I can really, from my daughters and my wife, I can reflect on the song. I can really think and feel the song because, again, I wouldn't want this to happen to any of my granddaughters or my daughters. Of course, they can handle themselves, but I wouldn't want this to have happened to any one of them when they were young, because you can meet up with the wrong person, hear some sweet words, and next thing you know, you're out there on the street. So anyway, Olivia is alive. She's alive. She's off the street. She's doing well, and they recognize her every time they do a show. So let's shout out to Olivia and to all the girls that have gone through this path but have come back. Those that have gone and come back, we want to show you love, and this song is dedicated to all of you. It's called Olivia.
Get distracted on our way
to grandmother's house. And now she's turned down, lost and turned. I want to stand up. Lost and turned. She's spending most of her time just walking the streets. She has a certain quota to fill. He wants to buy a new service. Only the other slave got distracted on her way to grandmother's house. A wolf in nice clothing came to her mind and changed her ways. Now she's turned out, lost and turned. She's lost and turned. What is this world coming to? So many ideas and abuse. There's over 10 million girls who are alone in this world. What will your kinfolk say? Olivia, the slave, it must be breaking their hearts in two. So listen close, they're calling you. Olivia, the slave, got distracted on her way to grandmother's house. A wolf in nice clothing came through her mind and changed her ways. And now she's turned out, she's lost and turned. She's lost and turned. Lost and turned. She's lost and turned. Lost and turned. Olivia, where's your mind? Lost and turned. He pulls you down all the time. Lost and turned. Olivia, stop and think. Lost and turned. He's taking your cash to his bank. Olivia, break your chain. Yeah, stop using your body, use your brain. smoked and dirt out.
Daniel, my good friend, thank you so much for coming on my show.
Michael, my
I'm
pleasure.
so honored to have you come on and for me to give you your roses. And do you want to give a shout out to anyone while we're here?
I want to shout out to all the musicians in the South Coast and Providence, Boston, New England, because we're one tight community. I want to give love out to anyone that I've ever worked with. If I didn't mention your names, know that I love you, and I appreciate any time that we've spent together, either as friends and musicians. Also, first of all, to my family, to my wife, Felice, and my daughters, Diana and Danielle, and my granddaughters, Felicia, Diamani, little Diana, and my great granddaughter, Evie. As you can see, I have no boys, and my daughter, who lives next door, just got a girl dog. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Winter. But that's it, Mike, and to you for being such a great host and great supporter. You know, I'm humbled that you asked me to do these things. I did something for you at the park. You know, you gave me an award a couple years ago. When you asked me, I didn't hesitate. I said, I go. We did it in the rain. I said, not a problem. I didn't hesitate. You know, you do so much for the community. I follow it. I appreciate it. It reflects on you as a person. You're real at what you do. You love your city. You love your sports, of course, and you recognize and you give recognition to those you think that are unheard or underappreciated. You know, the silent majority that maybe doesn't get the recognition that he or she might deserve. And thank you for doing that. So,
Well, again, I want to thank you again. And you have an open invitation. Anytime you want to come on, you want to promote anything you're doing, you have an open invitation. And again, I want to thank you so much. I think you cleared up a lot of stuff because I had no knowledge about it. Because you are not like that. But you know what I mean?
We don't get written about, and I'm not one that puts stuff on blogs. I am working on a little documentary for myself. You know, this is just for my children. You know, if I can condense it, I might do a blog or something just for those who might want to know. But it's not that I have to let people know this. You asked me, I told you my history. It's not that I have to go out and tell everybody about that. I'm at a good point in life where, you know, I have nothing to prove, you know, so it's a good place. But I still, I am going to mention, I am going to complete a CD this year. I'm working on I want to put about a 12-song CD. I am involved in a project with a jazz group in Boston that this is going to be their 4th album. They've never had a vocalist on the other 3 albums. So I was contacted. I figured I'm working on the songs now. They want to put me on 5 of the tracks, 5 leads on their 4th CD. So the leader just got back from Cuba, the piano player, so he's playing down there, and contacted me again yesterday so we can start working on, you know, getting into studio time and all that stuff. So, but I'm still in the stage where I'm just learning the vocals on them. So that'd be something that I'll be posting. It'll be under their name. I'm just a guest doing the 5 songs. So I've got that, and I am doing that show on June 2nd. It'll be at White's. Those announcements will be coming out, but I'm not the promoter. I want them to do that. I'm just going to be the.
I'll be there for that. I'll be there for that.
That's going to sell out real quick. I tell you that it's a phenomenal band that's going to be there. But I got that, and I'm trying this year to get. Like I said, I've been saying for 2 years now. Carlton and I were trying to finish it, my CD. You know, so but I'm going to take it on myself. I've got all the music done. I just got to go in the studio and just sing it, and that's not going to be a problem. So I want to get that done and get those pressed, so I can, you know, give a few of them out. Distribute. It's not about the money. I just want to get. People have been asking me for it, so my interpretation of some songs that I've got some different stuff that I want to do. That I'm going to play trumpet on it too. So, you know, just something a little different.
Awesome.
Yeah. So all good.
You know, I want to again thank you. I'll be posting the show this evening. I'll make sure you get y'all's onset. You know that, got to represent onset.
Well, so I represent New Bedford too, because I've been in New Bedford. I moved to New Bedford at 17, and I lived on Fairmont Street for 24 years. So New Bedford my wife and I call that home. My daughters still live there. My grandchildren live there. You know, my daughter's still up there, Rockdale Avenue. You know, and my grandkids and my other daughter's here. You know, but they were raised in New Bedford. They went to New Bedford High, graduated there. That's how my daughter met Marcus. You know, Marcus's fiance is my daughter Diana. You know, Marcus Wills. You know, so
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's,
okay, I want to thank my producer Key Williams. Without her efforts, I wouldn't be able to do the show that I do. So I want to thank her and the network. And again, I want to thank my man Daniel Monteiro, Daniel Buddy Monteiro.
Give Miss
And
Williams
just to let you know about the other Buddy, he's at the Jewish convalescent home.
Thank you.
And you know, my girl used to work and take care of him, so I know Buddy very well, and he's doing okay.
I talked to him on the telephone. Unfortunately, because of COVID, and I had COVID real short. I had COVID back in 2020, and I was in intensive care. I was in the same week that Toy Forts died. We were both in intensive care at the same time. And we were messaging each other back. But I didn't want the tube. He chose the tube. I didn't want it, and fortunately for me, I survived it. But I was in bad shape. They didn't think I was going to make it. But anyway, I'm good. I'm back and I'm good. But Arthur, Buddy and I talk. I didn't want to bring anything over there like a cold or something. But we talk on the telephone. And he'll call me and I'll talk to him. He's a great historian. He's the guy that knows history, man. Buddy remembers everything. He remembers every name, every club, every guy, first, last name, nicknames. He knows it. Yeah. Much love.
Again, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, my brother, for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I love it.
God bless.
Hopefully you enjoyed it. Okay.
Thank you all for tuning in to Sports Corner with the Conn Man on the Sports Wave Network. Again, I want to thank one of my very special guests, Danny Monteiro. Y'all be safe, take care, and God bless. Thank you, Danielle.
Love you too.